recording. Good afternoon and welcome to BizTech's Asian Midday Market Watch. I'm Brian Fernandez, and let's start by taking a look at a summary of market action. Now, Asia-Pacific markets are mixed today as traders assess July business activity data from Australia and Japan and tech earnings from the US. Now, overnight in the US, the S&P 500 dipped 0.16% to close at 5,555.74, a day after it notched its best performance in more than a month. Now, the Nasdaq Composite inched down 0.06%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 0.14%. Now, over in Asia, the region will look for any spillover effects on tech and EV stocks, especially US tech giant Alphabet and Tesla, which reported their second quarter earnings, with Tesla falling short of estimates. Alphabet's shares fell 2% in aftermarket trade. Now, over in Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index climbed 0.15%, but mainland Chinese CSI 300 was down 0.22%. Most tech stocks on the Hang Seng Tech Index were up, but EV stocks NIO, XPeng, and Li Auto suffered losses. Taiwan's Hon Hai Precision Industry, known internationally as Foxconn, will invest 1 billion yuan for a new business headquarters in China. Now, this is according to Reuters. Now, trading in Taiwan was suspended due to a typhoon. Over in Japan, the Nikkei 225 dropped 0.19%, while the broad-based Topix index was down 0.35%. Flash data from Ao Junbun Bank showed that the country's business activity returned to growth. Japan's Composite Purchasing Managers Index for July was at 52.6, up from 49.7 in June. Now, this was indicative of strong growth among Japanese private sector firms, and this is according to that report. Now, late yesterday, Toyota said that it will buy back $5.17 billion of its shares from major Japanese banks and insurers, including Tokio Marine, Mitsubishi UFJ Financial Group, and Sumitomo Mitsui Financial Group. The company said that this was part of its ongoing efforts to reduce cross-shareholdings in order to build a lean balance sheet. Shares of Toyota rose 0.74%. Now, in contrast, South Korea's Kospi was up 0.1%, while the small-cap Kosdaq rose 0.84%. Heavyweight Samsung Electronics plunged 1.43%, even as Reuters reported that chip giant NVIDIA had cleared its chips for use in a processor for the Chinese market. The South Korean electronics company is still grappling with a strike from its largest workers' union, with talks on Tuesday yielding no results. Now, this according to the National Samsung Electronics Union, which has about 30,000 members. Now, Australia's ASX 200 slipped 0.18% after the country saw its private sector activity expand at a slower pace in July, with the Composite Purchasing Managers Index dropping to a 6-month low at 50.2. Now, this is compared to 50.7 in June, and this is according to Juno Bank. And that's it for today's markets updates. Now, to give us insights into markets, we have our guest today, Phan Vee Leung, founder and CIO of Track Record Asia. Now, V, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's good to be here. Let's talk about markets, Ryan.
Now, speaking of markets, there's a lot of political noise. But then again, let's zoom in on the Fed, V, right now. Now, what are the expectations of an interest rate cut? And is there a possibility that perhaps there are more cuts in the horizon?
So currently, the market doesn't expect the Fed to do anything in the policy meeting at the end of July. It's expected to be a slightly dovish message, but the market is priced for a cut in September. And then by the end of the year, the market prices for more than 2 cuts. So it's about 50-50 on whether there will be a third cut. So according to market prices, it's 2.5 cuts by the end of this year. This currently was priced. And that's way ahead of what the Fed told us in their June projections. They expect to cut they project the median projections for the members was just for 1 cut by the end of this year. But I think since that projections, the data has evolved to such an extent that it is quite clear that the disinflationary process is continuing after a slight hiccup in the first few months of this year. And the jobs market is now back to pre-pandemic levels. It is strong, it is growing, but it's not overheated. In the words of the Fed, it is not overheated anymore. Yeah.
So basically, then the Goldilocks scenario of a soft landing looks like the Fed is able to engineer it.
Yes, that's right. I think somehow they managed to pull it off, but of course, we still have months to go before we can fully conclude that it's safe. But it sure seems that way for now. But my personal view is that when the Fed cuts, I think they will end up cutting a lot more than what market expects and a lot more than what they themselves expect. I think we are still in the early stages of seeing the productivity boom that is going to happen with the adoption of AI across many industries. So the disinflation process will be fast and swift and unexpectedly so for many people.
Okay, now, V, you're a crypto expert. I've got to ask you this, and I think the audience would be very interested. Really a big shift now, launch of Ethereum's ETF. So again, legitimizing both Bitcoin and Ethereum. Tell us about how these market changes have influenced investing decisions.
Well, so I think there was a lot of fanfare with the launch of the Bitcoin ETFs. I think every newspaper was talking about it. Every news program was looking forward to it. But the Ether ETF is kind of like under the radar. It's not as spoken of, not as well publicized. But the first day of trading was yesterday in the US time zone, and they did $1 billion of volume. Right? It's not bad given that is about 23% of what Bitcoin ETFs did on their first day. And the market capitalization of Ether is about 31% of what Bitcoin market capitalization is. So it's about there in the ballpark. You expect that kind of volumes. But I think, as you said, it is another development, another step in the journey of cryptocurrencies becoming an investable assets for the mainstream investor. We have a generation of people that will soon grow up with a generation of investors that will soon grow up with Bitcoin ETFs and Ether ETFs in their mainstream broker, right? You do not now have to go to shady crypto exchanges, not sure of how to custody your cryptocurrencies, not sure what is the meaning of custody even, because you just typically, and mainstream investors don't know about how shares are held at the custodian, right? It's just you just open an account, you get verified KYC, and you click. And we are having a generation of investors now growing to become accustomed to this. And the Ether ETFs is the second of the cryptocurrencies to be made into an exchange traded fund. And I don't think it's going to be the last of it. I think there's going to be a few more that will come online.
Yeah. So so for someone like me who's probably only very familiar with Ether and Bitcoin, which obviously I'm the say old school investor. What are the next coins perhaps to watch out for that perhaps will cross the chasm of being legitimate, so to speak, via an ETF?
Yeah, I think the next likely one will be Solana, right? It has to be decentralized, so to speak, right? So Bitcoin, there's another Binance coin which is have a big market cap as well, but it is very linked to Binance. It's controlled by Binance, so it's unlikely to meet the regulator's approval of being not manipulated by a certain group of investors or
especially when the founder has been found guilty and jailed.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, but as I think it's not going to be a fringe investment going forward. I think there was a lot of debate, right, that whether Bitcoin is even viable or is just a scam. And we now have legitimate CEOs of big financial giants saying that they are wrong. It's it's turned out to be resilient and an investable option, and this is just going to grow. So in the short term, I think it has the price action has been quite challenged. It's quite bearish in the last few months. We saw Bitcoin falling from above 70,000 to below 60,000, and we did have lots of pessimism, the German government selling, and then the possible repayment, that's impending repayment from Mt. Gox to creditors. They owe Bitcoins for quite a number of years now. So there's a pessimism around maybe there's going to be huge sales hitting the markets. But what we see now is that Donald Trump, the leading contender in the US presidential elections, has embraced Bitcoin as an investment option, right? He said that he will make sure that it will not be regulated away. He wants US to be the center of cryptocurrency developments. And supposedly Kamala Harris, the now the leading contender from the Democratic Party, is also going to be addressing Bitcoin at some point, apparently, right? So I think it's just going to become more mainstream as time passes. And we have spoken at length about what happens to a fringe asset class becoming mainstream. So in the longer term, it's likely to continue grinding higher as more people get involved, and it becomes a long-term asset holding for many savers around the world.
Now, V, on that note, thank you very much for your insights. Thanks for coming on the show.
Always good to be here. Thank you.
Now, we've been speaking to Phan Vee Leung. He's the founder and CIO of Track Record Asia. This has been BizTech's Asian Midday Market Watch. Be sure to keep informed on the latest market developments weekdays at 1 p.m. I'm Brian Fernandez. The show will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.